Warning. You've reached On the Box with Ray Comfort and are now in a biblical truth zone. Place all questions about theology, current events, and evangelism on the box, where they'll be weighed against the truth of God's Word. Ready your hearts and minds. You're about to be inspired and equipped to fulfill the Great Commission. Programming to engage in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Whoa.
Oh, I love it. Look at this.
I got caught clapping myself.
Oh, yes. Welcome to On the Box with Ray Comfort, the program that is far, far, far less interesting than watching paint dry in Siberia on a cold winter's day. Good to have you with us.
Would take a while.
It would. And as you can tell, we have a full studio audience today. We have Mark and Lisa Metzger. We have Scott, David, and Ella all here at the ministry with us. Welcome. And there is another very special person actually here in the studio for the very first time ever. And the one thing I can tell you about this young lady is she has an excellent taste in men. Welcome, my beautiful wife, Rachel. Woo!
Why don't we swing the camera on her? Because we haven't got a camera to swing on.
That's right, we don't have one.
Yeah. Hey, those people from North Carolina, that's is that Andy Griffith country? Yeah. Oh. I just love Andy Griffith's show.
Hey,
absolutely.
Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul. Yeah.
That's all I remember from Andy Griffith.
That night, Paul. That's another one.
Yeah. So, Ray, you've been running around today like a maniac. Tell us what you've been doing.
I've been filming in Long Beach State and got some great filming. Last night we had a frightening night. I was just going to go to sleep and I looked up, light was still on, and I said, Sue, that's my wife, I said, there's a spider on the roof.
I'm glad that's your wife.
Yes,
Ray.
there's a spider on the roof. So I got the stool and I reached up to get it with a piece of paper, and I related to what Rachel Proctor upstairs, one of our staff members, told me about her daughter the night before had found a spider in her room. It fell down behind something. She couldn't find it, so she just went to sleep and woke up in the morning with 3 spider bites.
Oh, are you kidding?
So anyway, I said to Sue, and she had 3 spider bites, and I missed the spider. Oh. and it fell down onto the floor, and I looked at the paper, and there are 2 legs on the paper.
Oh, no.
And so there's a very bitter and angry spider.
Handicapped spider.
Handicapped, going around in circles, wanting to bite me. But it's been a spider week. Remember we showed.
Well, that's what I was going to say. After that ginormous tarantula,
Yeah.
you must have felt like brave and bold.
No, the tarantula was so big it looked like a horse to me. And I'm not scared of horses, but when they're about that big, that say get up your nostrils and down your mouth when you're asleep, and that just frightens me. I don't like spiders. They make me want to spit.
So hopefully you'll find this. Now, if you find this spider because you harmed its legs, will you rehabilitate it?
I'll take it to you to do that.
Right. So I'm sure we're going to get letters from the insects rights activists today.
That's PETA.
Shall I give them your? PETA.
PETA.
Right.
You remember that governor hit the spider, and the PETA people got upset.
He's a bad guy now.
Yes.
Brad, do you kill spiders, Brad?
No, I let my wife do that.
You what?
He actually does.
Speaking of my wife, we will have been married 22 years this Saturday.
To each other?
Yes. She's my first wife.
Great.
First and favorite wife.
Happy anniversary, honey.
Yeah.
We did it.
See, nowadays, anyone that stays married for more than 2 minutes gets an applause.
Right.
It's just really sad.
It is. But what a blessing, Brad. Congratulations to you both. And on that note, speaking of Kim, a wonderful wife and a wonderful mother, this Sunday, as you all know, is Mother's Day. And what an opportunity to reach the lost. In fact, here's a question. How can someone use Mother's Day to reach the lost? Ray, I don't know if you realize this, but Mother's Day happens to be one of the largest attendance days for churches.
It's a great opportunity to get mothers to church.
It is, for sure. In fact, they say that it's 59. They say 59% have ranked it as their biggest service.
We should have more Mother's Day during
That's
the
what I'm
year.
talking about. So
I
Brad,
like it when you go to church, seriously, and they give you a rose as you're coming, or something. Well, the mother, they give a rose. The woman
you run around stealing roses.
Yeah, I got a whole stack last time. Hitting
No,
a beer.
it is a great opportunity for people to bring mothers to church. And we want to talk about some ideas for those of you that are watching. I wanted to kick it over to Brad. Brad, what's one way that the day can be maximized for the glory of God?
Well, keeping in mind that Mother's Day is one of the most attended Sunday services, probably because children are visiting their mother for that special day and attending church with them, or maybe the children are bringing their parents to church with knowing that the focus is going to be on mothers. Probably this would be a great opportunity for the pastor to preach the gospel to such a large audience. There are those who are there visiting probably for the first time because of their mother and have not been exposed to the gospel yet. And so here the pastor has an opportunity to share the gospel with someone who really needs to hear it.
Right.
We should have more evangelistic days like Brother's Day and Sister's Day and Cousin's Day and Father's Day. And,
Yeah, Self Day.
Yes.
Bring yourself to
Human
church.
Day.
So, Ray, what do you think? Any other thoughts on ideas?
I'm
what
just
people
checking.
Can do?
There's nothing there.
What about children's ministry? Don't people
Oh,
bring...
yeah, bring children. That's, when the mother comes, she's usually had children because she's a mother. That's a great opportunity to take the children to the children's church and share the gospel with them.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great opportunity. And again, oftentimes people are reticent to share the gospel with kids. You have the sensitivity issue in regards to their parents and what it's like for an adult to approach a child and so on and so forth. But remember, you have full permission in a sense because they're bringing the children to church, and it's logical that the gospel is going to be preached. So that's a great opportunity to gauge what you're going to share around the gospel specifically to children. And, I've been amazed. Lately, I've talked to a couple of people whose children have said to them, why don't we learn about God? Or why don't we go to church as a family?
Wow.
And it's stirred these parents to say, wow, we need to see about doing that. So
I taught Sunday school for years.
is that when you did Charlie?
Oh, don't
Does that
start
sound
easy.
familiar, Rachel?
Yeah.
A little nightmarish?
Yeah, I think I've got a picture upstairs of me and Charlie. Charlie was a dummy. A mannequin that his mouth went like that. And I am the second world's worst ventriloquist.
Hey, what are you trying to say, Ray?
Yes.
I have no idea what you're talking
And
about.
the kids could see my mouth moving when Charlie's mouth, but it didn't worry them. They'd just look at Charlie, and I'd share gospel messages with the kids. We had, I think, like 400 kids and combined 3 clubs, and we combined all the kids together once, and we got the world's biggest chocolate cake. We got it made at a local store and carried it in like the ark, being carried in on sticks, and then I had some chocolate, and the kids did too. Chocolate cake. It was a great time.
And I'm sure your whole motive was to give the kids cake.
Oh
Yeah,
yes, afterwards, let them
Yeah.
have cake. Yeah,
Selfless guy.
absolutely. It was a great time.
Right. Well, that's great. Other things you can do would include inviting your neighbors to church. Hopefully, if you're part of a church that is gospel-centered and you know that they take that opportunity to share the gospel, that's a great occasion as well.
Absolutely.
Invite maybe a neighbor or two along with the mom and the family, and then invite everyone out to lunch or something. That's an idea. You can go to convalescent homes and visit some of these.
I will be soon.
Yes, you will. Oh, Ray, I'm trying to imagine
I'm going to have a big horn on my wheelchair.
the
and it's,
insanity.
come over here, take this
The
tray.
insanity of you in a convalescent home. They'd have to quadruple security. In a wheelchair, motor powered. Anyways, all right. So those are things you could do. Go to a convalescent home, visit ladies that maybe are widowed whose children don't come and see them. You would be surprised how many elderly folks don't get regular visits from their children.
That's
even,
true.
Yeah. So there's a lot you can do, but like we always talk about, people are always looking to say, well, where's Mother's Day in the Bible? They're going to celebrate Mother's
Why
Day.
do they talk like that?
I don't know. People are crazy. But, people do that with Christmas. They do it with Easter. But the point is, use any opportunity for the sake of the gospel and to
That's
glorify the
true.
Lord. So do that and reach out in love. And, another good idea is reach out to your own mom. I mean, that's a novel thought, I know.
Oh.
But you have moms that don't know the Lord. Use that occasion to take your mom to church or to sit down with her and tell her, Mom, I love you. Thank her for all she's done throughout your life. And then tell her about the most important thing imaginable, the gospel of shares of the Lord. Right. So, all right. And on the note of speaking about mothers, we have a video from our friends. So let's go ahead and roll it. David Platt and Francis
Just
Chan.
before we roll it, I've got to say something. It delights me when you forget something, because your memory is so good. You've memorized the Quran, the Bible, you've memorized the dictionaries, you memorize everything.
What's
and
your
this
name?
morning, you couldn't remember David Pratt's first name. And
David
I gave
what?
I gave you
David what?
Platt.
Yes.
See?
I love it.
See what I mean?
Vindication.
So this is my opportunity this
David
morning to rub it
Pratt.
in. I gave you Pat Platt.
Right. Well,
and
to me, that just says, what is
Matt
it? Pride
Platt.
before a fall. That's all that is. Picking on me, persecuting me.
Yeah.
Okay. So please roll it. Francis Land and David Fratt.
Hey, speaking of sphere of influence, we had a question come in last night. I know there's probably a lot of families that are even listening together, but it was from a mom. And she was asking, she said she's a stay-at-home mom, and she was asking the honest question, should my primary investment towards disciple making be in my kids in the season of my life? And do you guys have thoughts towards that?
I'll set it up biblically, I think, and then I want to get you to share just your family, especially while we're sitting in this setting. I think that'd be really helpful. But biblically, there's certainly a responsibility we have in our families to make disciples. I mean, going all the way back to Deuteronomy 6, we want to fill our homes with the Word of God. No question, we want to do that. We've got a responsibility to do that in our homes. But we would be fooling ourselves if we think the best way to make disciples among kids is to quarantine them in our home and do disciple making that way instead of showing them what the disciple making looks like in action. So how does that look like for you guys in this setting in particular? And we were talking about that earlier.
You know, my wife's up there leading worship, but the thing is about her is she is discipling my kids, you know, our daughters in such a powerful way because she doesn't just focus on them. They see that mom has other women come over to the house to learn from her. They see that mom's actually, I mean, some of the things my daughter brings up, like, man, it's so cool to see my mom, like, in apartment buildings, here in the Tenderloin, cleaning up these people's rooms just to try to get the gospel to them. You know, talking to people who have a completely different, you know, belief system, and mom's in their room talking to them, and they're watching. Like, that's discipleship. You know, otherwise, if it's like mom just sits at home with just our kids, we're modeling for them. Okay, so when you grow up, don't talk to anyone else. Just talk, you know, she's modeling like, no, this is what we're here for, girls. And to see my girls, they're like proud of mom. They're like, man, look at mom. Like, she's in that office, bed bugs everywhere, and you know, here's former Miss Teen California. You know, I had to throw that in for you. But you know, it's just like, wow, you know, look at what she's doing. And so to me, this is discipleship. Is so often we think, oh, it's sitting in a room or sitting in our house, or no, it's as you're along the way, they're watching. Wow, mom shares her faith. Mom shares her faith, you know, and I'm watching it. And so now they, you know, at junior high and high school, they're going to be doing the same thing because this is what's modeled for them.
Boy, that's such a great lesson that you really want to reproduce after your own kind, not just physically but spiritually. You want your kids to do what you do.
Yeah.
Because you're doing what Jesus did.
You know, I love the point that he made about the importance of your children seeing that you have a biblical mindset and a gospel focus, you know, in your life. I know families that are really big on the importance of the family, which obviously is important. But I think they take it to an extreme to where they so guard their family time that their children never see the importance of sacrificing for the sake of the kingdom.
Right.
You know, I mean, look, it was difficult for me, honestly, to be gone on Julia's 16th birthday this year. I hate to be gone for my children's birthdays, but
Where were you?
I was in Missouri.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and and then in Florida with you, where you
Wow.
made me go. So it was really Ray's fault, but hey. But no, I mean, it was difficult
I
to be
wasn't
gone.
there either. That's very sad.
Yeah, isn't it? But I mean, Julia and I had a great talk about it, and she realized that she's sacrificing me over for the sake of the kingdom and the sake of the gospel. She knows me as a father. I'm in her life. I'm there for her. We spend time together. We do things individually, you know, so on and so forth. But children seeing that sometimes we sacrifice things we want to do to reach the lost, and for children to see their parents out there preaching the gospel. That's why I love taking the girls with me, you know, and they love going to preach the gospel together and so forth.
Well, it is a real sacrifice. Sue was sacrificed me going to Florida. She asked me to stay on another week. She just
Took you to the airport
Oh,
early.
she just took me to the airport early. She just really throws herself into that sacrificial thing.
Absolutely, I understand why. Now, Brad, what do you think of all this stuff?
Well, you know, earlier when we were discussing Mother's Day, you know, first of all, who created Mother's Day? I just want to know. Is that a greeting card company thing?
Probably is.
It
That's a good
is.
thought.
I didn't know. Oh, anyway.
It just happened, spontaneous explosion.
Right.
But, my parents don't live anywhere near me, and so I don't exactly get to spend the day with my mother on Mother's Day. So I rely heavily on greeting cards during that time. But if your mom is not someone who's saved, I write a gospel presentation in a greeting card, or at least something along the lines of your heart about her, and that demonstrates your concern for her and where she stands with God. And with greeting cards, we have that opportunity to reach out to people that are distant from us. And so on a holiday like that, or a special day like that, here's an opportunity that we can naturally give a gospel presentation and a card that makes sense.
Boy, we should design our own evangelistic Mother's Day cards. Dear Mom, I love you. Repent and trust in Jesus.
With your phone number to call after they get it. Yeah, that's a great idea, Brad. All holidays are great opportunities to share the gospel, because people kind of expect you to send them something or to talk about the topic,
Right.
and you can relate it to the Lord. So
Absolutely.
it's a good one. And again, while we're talking about moms, I actually didn't think to do this until right before the show, but I want to read something to you that my wife recently posted on her Facebook page. This is by John MacArthur. He said, "You might think it was easier to raise children in Paul's day, that life wasn't as complex or difficult then. Hardly. When a child was born into Roman society, it was placed before its father's feet. If the father stooped to lift the child, that meant he acknowledged the child and wished to keep it. If he turned and walked away, the child would be thrown out. Unwanted children were commonly thrown on the dump heap or left in the forum and collected by people who raised them to be slaves and prostitutes. Their world wasn't much different from ours. We just have the medical technology to do away with children before they're born. While such abuses are unthinkable, may I suggest that one of the greatest abuses is to leave a child alone so he or she cannot develop physically, spiritually, socially, and mentally as God would desire. Are you really so different from the Roman father who threw away his unwanted child when you don't spend time with your child and don't bring him or her up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord?"
Boy, that's powerful.
Only someone like John MacArthur can get away with saying something like that, but that's heavy.
It is.
And, Brad, I'd love for you to touch on that, if you would, on the importance of parents proactively discipling their children. We're talking about moms today and the importance of us celebrating our mothers, but on the other hand, our parents fulfilling their call and responsibility. What do you think about
A
that?
Spurgeon lookalike.
Well, I remember talking to a woman just recently who was desperate to find some advice to help disciple her child, who she felt like really wasn't walking closely with the Lord. And some of the advice that we had was that we would have family altar times, where the family would be gathered together to discuss the things of God, to go over Scripture together, and to deal with the issues that the family would focus on for the purpose of growing in a right relationship with God. And I oftentimes will also bring my children out with me when I go out witnessing, and my son, who we call the track master, just fearlessly hands out tracks. But it's bringing them out into those moments where we can actually stand for the gospel out in the public, where I think it has a profound effect on them and their relationship with God, and it sets the example that hopefully they'll follow even past my time of parenting for them. Because in the days ahead, I can only imagine it's only going to be even more difficult for them than it is for us, and they're going to face challenges that maybe we've never even imagined. And so I want my child to be ready for that time.
Right.
Well, that's very good.
Ray, when we read about men of old, some of the heroes that you have, guys like Wesley, guys like Whitefield, guys like Spurgeon, it almost seemed like in that era, it was almost a given that parents proactively discipled their children. I know in your home, it was a non-negotiable. What is it that keeps parents from doing this proactively? I mean, they'll have fun times with their children. They'll take them on
referring
vacation.
to Christian
I'm talking
parents?
about Christian homes.
Christian
I mean,
homes, yeah.
what is it? Is it a lack of discipleship from their churches that parents should do this? Is it laziness? Is it What do you think?
I just think it's a symptom of a society that's forsaken the fear of God, that we have our churches filled with people that don't fear God enough to obey him, to bring your children up in the admonition of the Lord and the fear of the Lord, and they don't evangelize. We've got many, many false converts within the churches, and anyone who cares about their kids will spend time with them, because you've only got a certain amount of time, like 2, 3, 4, 5, and then suddenly they get that rebellious attitude that's so hard to get out of them. Hit teenage years, you've lost them. You've lost them to peer group pressure. You've lost them to all sorts of things out there. So you've just got a limited time to train them up in the way they should go.
Right. Yeah, and I think often parents are surprised when they've spent a lifetime not investing in their children spiritually, and their children are worldly, they're unsaved, they're corrupt, disrespectful, dishonoring, and it's almost like, I don't get it, I don't understand.
It's because you just have to leave a kid without instruction for them to go bad.
Right. That's so true.
Yeah.
So, friends, we hope this has been an encouragement to you to remember that, you hear it said often. One of the most common things I hear said when parents are talking about children is, oh, they grow up so fast. You won't even believe, they'll be gone before you know it. And I think that element of procrastination gets us to a place where it's just too late. They're grown, they're gone, and we wasted those years. And there are ramifications for the next generation. And that, I think, is the problem, is we're not multi-generational in our vision as parents and as families, thinking, what's this going to look like with the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren, so on down the line, for the glory of God, So, anyhow, hopefully that has been helpful. We want to turn now to an email from Ashley. I was wondering how I am to share the gospel with my family I nanny for. This seems like a situation where I would have to show God in my actions and become friends, gain trust, and I've been fired for sharing my faith at a previous nanny job. So how do I share the gospel? Is it wrong to wait? I've shared with the 6-year-old, but not with the mom or dad. How does this work?
Boy, I'd just ask the parents' permission. You can just go straight, say, I'd love to share what the Bible says. Can we have Bible readings? Does that offend you? Are you going to get upset by that? And if they say, yeah, say, okay, I won't.
Right.
And if they say, yeah, you got a free course.
Yeah, that's an idea. Yeah, asking permission, approaching it from that respectful standpoint. I think probably the broader question, and maybe some of you watching today, I doubt there are many nannies watching, but the broader question is, how do I deal with the gospel at work? Because people are nervous. Am I going to lose my job? How's my boss going to react? Is this going to, how do I do it? So, Brad, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, having not been a nanny ever before.
No?
No.
Oh. I thought that was your
I don't really
job.
know how that could operate within her work, but I do remember Stephen Baldwin giving kind of a testimony of how he came to the Lord. And they had a housekeeper from Brazil who would sing hymns as she worked, and he couldn't understand other than the name Jesus would pop up because she sang the songs in Portuguese. But but it was actually through their housekeeper that both he and his wife came to the Lord. So if anything, I just encourage you that your role as being an intimate one with this family, it does offer an opportunity for the gospel to hopefully change these people's lives.
So just sing in Portuguese.
Yeah,
that's quite simple.
That's the
my
new
advice.
method. That's the new way of the master. We got to get Portuguese lessons out.
Yes.
Brad, you hit an excellent point that I think is important to mention. There he is. Be the most amazing nanny that these folks have ever had or could ever have. That's the number one impact that you're going to have. I call it the E factor. Exceed expectations with extreme excellence in everything. Remember Mark Spence, after he came to Christ, he applied that philosophy of just being a light to those that he worked with.
Right.
And by the way, you do share the gospel, not just saying just do that. But that's primary. How terrible is it to share the gospel and be a horrible witness? But Mark did that. And I remember he got a letter from his boss when he moved on from the restaurant. And the guy he says, I've never in the history of my work in the restaurant industry, which is 20-something years, have ever seen an employee as excellent as you. And he was just blown away. And Mark was such a testimony because of that. And so be extraordinary in your work and then look for those opportunities. And you know what? It may have to come down to it. In the end, you look at these people, you care about their souls. It may lead you being fired, but you sit down with them respectfully at a casual moment when you're off duty and you say, hey, can I share something that's very important to me that I'd like for you to know? And
There's a
take it
time
from
at the workplace where you can actually share the gospel, and that's during the lunch hour.
there. Right.
Just take someone to lunch.
Yeah.
Stuff their mouths and put them into their ears.
Yeah, stuff their mouths where they can't talk, and just every time they take a bite, hit them with
Here's
the
some more.
gospel. Right. So anyhow, yeah, we hope that's been helpful. All right, Brad, please take us to the tool of the day.
The tool of the day is 100 things husbands do to annoy their wives. And I think my marriage could probably come up with volume 2. But this particular book, it makes for a great gift to someone who may be a little bit difficult to how to, get the gospel in front of them. But it also includes a chapter called How to Make Your Marriage Blossom. So I think within this book is just a great way to bring about subtly an opportunity for the gospel.
Sue helped me write that book in about 10 minutes. It was great.
That long it took?
Yeah.
Excellent book. It's actually a great tool for people that don't know the Lord. It's a good icebreaker.
That's what it's
Makes them
for.
laugh.
It's evangelistic.
Yeah. So get it for your neighbor, for your friends. You write evangelistic books, right?
Yes, it's nothing else.
Wow.
Yeah.
New information to me. All right, Ray, you are going to be speaking at a very exciting event tomorrow. And actually, our friends who are a part of that ministry, Cities for Life, are here with us today. And that's exciting. Do we have something we're going to throw up in that regard? There it is.
We're going to throw up. That just sounded great.
That probably didn't go too well
No,
there.
it didn't.
But it's Cities for Life, and it will be held in Chino.
What's with using my baby
This
picture? That's
Friday.
about 200 years old. I'm going to get
Where's the
Photoshop to
beard?
make my face look older, so when I show up, the people say, oh, you look quite young.
You need the beard on there, right?
Yeah.
So again, that's this Friday, May 10th at 7 p.m. And guys, are there still tickets available? Great. So you can go to citiesforlife.org.
That's
And
the number 4.
yeah, cities, the number 4, and then life.
I wasn't crossing myself. It's a number 4.
Number 4. citiesforlife.org. And you can get more information on that and get tickets there. As you saw, Jack Hibbs will be speaking. And David, who's here with us today, will also be speaking. So
It's
gonna be
very
a great
exciting.
event.
Great speakers.
Yeah. So Ray, tell us a little bit about the project you're working on.
What project?
With Mark
Oh,
Spence.
yes, yeah. We're working on the famous atheists, what the unbelievers believe. I am so excited about this, especially to get an interview with a USC professor who showed me to his door. I got him filming, kicking me out of his office because he couldn't answer the question.
That was an intense little exchange.
Yeah, it was a great time. So it just gives some excitement to it. But the whole thing, be 20 to 30 minutes. We don't have any experts on there. We just have evolutionists and atheists sharing what they believe and what they don't believe, and it's very exciting. It's going to be hugely evangelistic, and I think it could change the culture, God willing.
Right, because Dawkins is coming out with a movie, isn't he?
He's come out with a movie called
Oh,
The
it's out already,
Unbelievers.
that's right.
So that's why our subtitle is What the Unbelievers Believe, because they think they don't believe anything, so they
Right.
believe.
Well, folks, keep that in prayer. We are excited about that project, and after 180 and Genius, we've been so encouraged to see what the Lord has done and how people have responded. Again, having a tool that you can take and pass on to someone that doesn't just hit them on a subject they have an interest in, but brings the gospel to them. So it'll be great. We're looking forward to it. Make sure to look us up on Facebook and on Twitter, and to check us out at onthebox.us. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow.
For questions about On the Box with Ray Comfort, or to submit questions for future shows, please email onthebox@livingwaters.com. That's onthebox@livingwaters.com. On the Box with Ray Comfort is an outreach of Living Waters. For more resources to inspire and equip you to fulfill the Great Commission, check out livingwaters.com or call toll-free 1-800-437-1893. Now go and preach the gospel.